Hi there, my name is Steve Gearhart, and as always, this is the Unagi Observer. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching the video. As always, this is a labor of love, so thank you for being here and watching. This week, we're going to do an anime review of a most recent anime from the last season, and it's going to be called Pass the Monster Meat, Milady. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so Pass the Monster Meat, Milady. It is a fantasy romantic comedy anime. It is definitely, I mean, that's what it's being listed as, but I think we all know that this is part of the kind of the new up-and-coming genre made popular by Delicious and Dungeon about food in the fantasy world in some way, shape, or form. So that's what we have here today for Pass the Monster Meat, Milady. We came across this one, Brent, John, and I, over on Otaku Station on the Anime Archaeology YouTube channel. Link will be down below. And we did the fall 2025 review, and this came up on it. We thought this was pleasant and nice, and I decided that I would come back and do a review and do the give it the 3-episode treatment. And but yeah, if you want to know more about the fall 2025 season as we see it, again, the link will be down below, so please check it out. So let us talk a little bit more about Pass the Monster Meat, Milady. I just like saying that a lot. Pass the Monster Meat, Milady. It is, like I said, it's a nice change of pace. It's definitely a palate cleanser for some of the more violent stuff that you can see out there. But it is charming in a slightly odd and demented way. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and talk about the particulars of this anime. And this is kind of neat. I thought this was neat when I was looking into it a little bit. And this is actually a light novel based on light novels and published online, actually. Shoetsuka Inaro, I believe, is the publishing website, and it's user-generated. Konasha Ranabe Books, that imprint picked them up and actually started printing out the light novels. So of course they got the manga treatment shortly thereafter, and in 2021, I think it was 2021. Yes, 2021, still running, and just as the light novels are still running. So those are still being written by Kanada Hoshi, and they are being illustrated by a person named Pepperon. I'm not very familiar with that. For those of you who do read light novels, that might be something. I do not know myself. And then, of course, it got the anime treatment in this fall season, released in the past month in October. And we are at episode 5, I believe. You can find this on Crunchyroll. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of that type of information to give to you. So we're just going to jump into the plot. The plot for Pass the Monster Meat, Milady is fairly fairy tale kind of tropey. And not in a bad way. I mean, it's supposed to be. This is what it presents itself as. And when I say fairy tale, I don't mean the anime fairy tale. I mean actual fairy tales. Hans Andersen Christian, and the Grimm brothers and all that stuff. All the old school stuff. And so there's definitely tropes in there of Beauty and the Beast and things like that. So the plot starts off with, as we are familiar with it now today in anime, where it is a noble family that's down on its luck financially, so they're marrying off one of the daughters to help the family get financially stable again and move into the future. And so it's one of those. Malfisia, the daughter, is unfortunately, just like in a lot of the other ones, the trope is she's beautiful, but nobody wants to deal with her because of an odd quirk. And the odd quirk here, of course, is that she eats monster meat. And so as a result, they call her the voracious villainess. Isn't that a wonderful title? You can't just say, yes, I'm the voracious villainess. Anyway, so in an attempt to basically get a husband on the hoof and then, get married and save the family, so to speak, she gets dressed up to go to an outdoor ball picnic kind of thing going on. And of course the father is, just like, sorry, you need to do the thing, and then I'm really sorry you have to do this. But she's like, no, no, it's fine, of course. And then the evil stepmother, that trope, that fairy tale trope, the evil stepmother who's very cash, hungry, and probably the reason why the family's not doing so well financially, is getting up in her biz and just going, yeah, you better get a rich husband kind of thing going on. She goes to the outdoor picnic ball thing, and everyone's just in their finest suits and everything. And she's she looks pretty in the dress that she's in, but it's compared to everyone else, it's kind of kind of plain. But she has, of course, striking red hair, green eyes, so there's beauty there. So as she's sitting there and she's kind of off to the side and she's just like trying to talk to people, and of course I was just like, you're the voracious villainess. We don't have nothing to do with you. You eat the monster meat. And so she kind of wanders off and she's like, what am I going to do here? And it's not like she's being like totally put upon or whatever. She's just trying to figure out how to do this. And then, of course, this giant monstrous monster boar comes out of the woods and starts rushing this old couple. And she's just like, oh, how do I save them? And she gets in between the boar and the old elderly couple and is trying to get the boar away from them. And the boar starts chasing her, and she's running away. She goes, well, this sucks. This is how I'm going to die. I don't want to die like this. And then this guy comes out of nowhere and beheads the boar. Just done. Beheads the boar. And we go in for this like 5-minute conversation while they're drenched in blood, literally, about monster meat, eating it. How she's just like, oh, it's a shame to waste this. And the guy who just saved her is just like, what do you mean? I'm very interested. I like new things, eating new things. Monsters? Ooh, can I try some? Can we eat some? And she knows how to prepare it. How does she know how to prepare to it? Well, we'll get to that in a moment. It should be noted that in the very first part of the anime, she's sitting on the side of the road. This guy comes up, sees she's eating this delicious looking sandwich. He eats it. He loves it. He thinks it's great. And he goes, what kind of meat is this? This is like beef, but not quite. And it's just succulent. It's just so good. And she goes, oh, it's monster meat. And he's like, and like literally throwing up against the tree. So you get the idea. So the guy introduces himself as a Duke Airstride, the Mad Blood Duke, and that's his title. And everyone's just like, a buzz. Oh my God, this is the voracious villainess and the mad and the mad blood dog, whatever Duke. Oh my God, they're plotting, they're doing something, and really they're just exchanging notes on how to slaughter and eat things. And they fall in love. They are interested in each other. Second episode is basically about her back at the castle. The father runs up and goes, oh my gosh, we got a letter, hand in marriage. I don't know what you did, no offense, but you're really plain. I don't know how you did it, but we got to figure this out. And so Duke Airstride is going to be coming in, and we when is he coming in? Tomorrow. Oh my gosh. And so hilarity ensues. And so they go on. Third episode, we get more along the lines of how does she know how to prepare this stuff, and we get the tragic backstory of how her little the lands of her father, who's a count, underwent a drought, and there was a drought which caused famine, and people were dying, and so her mother and started researching how to make monsters edible. And because this apparently the lands of the count has plenty of monsters with which to do this with, so the little girl, as Melfina, helps her mom and learns how to do the trade, so to speak. And they save the lands, they save the people who are a little bit ungrateful. And we come to find out that while at the time they were willing and happy to eat the monster meat, afterwards, once everybody was saved and things got better, they kind of turned on the mother and just kind of said, "You're evil," because a lot of people in that area of the Count's lands practice animism. Animism, for those of you who don't know, is basically the worship of animals that are perceived to have spirits, higher spirits, gods, kami, that kind of things that take form of animals. So eating monsters is kind of a bad thing, and so they turn a little bit. It's not like they pitchforks and torches and killed the mother. It's just that the mother died eventually of an illness, and they're just like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. And so the girl, the young lady, is kind of doing this on her own hook, and people kind of got wind of it, and now she's kind of like the odd duckling that nobody wants to deal with, except for the Mad Blood Duke, who kills things and is cold and aloof, because that's how they are in these stories. Is entranced by her beauty, entranced by what she's doing, and thinks this is the most wonderful thing. She's the most wonderful thing, and he's just like, you smitten, done, I'm done. Yep, you're the one. You're for me. And one of the nice things about the story, about this plot, is that it's not about will they or won't they get together. Oh no, they're into each other. Like, it's made perfectly clear. Oh yeah, we're getting married. They're both just like, yep, this is happening. So you realize that the story arc of this anime is basically not so much them wanting to be together as it is how they're going to get together, getting through these obstacles that are going to be thrown in their way. Obviously the evil stepmother, some misunderstandings maybe, because at the end of episode 3, Aristide, the Mad Blood Duke, says to her, goes, look, I know all about you, but you need to know about me. So if we're going to do this, I really need to tell you who I am, and you make your decision, and I'll honor it. And so of course that's the first hurdle. She's just like, oh my gosh, does he think that I'm not going to like him after he tells me whatever? What is the dark secret? Well, she already knows the dark secret. He just kills things. Right? He has a very good ability at killing things. That's kind of what he does. It's oddly demented. And again, I have to harken back to their first discussion where they're literally talking how to process the boar that he just killed, saving her life. And she's like, oh, I can make these things. I can make all this food out of this. And they're having this conversation literally drenched in blood. Head to toe, drenched in blood, having this conversation. Oh yeah, let me flick off this piece of intestine. Oh yeah, you got a little bit of brain on your forehead. Let me wipe that off. It's kind of like that. So yeah, that's basically the plot as we are at end of episode 3. Very much a fairy tale, very much a romantic comedy. I will say that there are it's very tropey. So you have to kind of like the fairy tale trope, again, as in terms of the storytelling, not the actual fairy tale anime, which is its whole other thing. But and of course there's a lot of glitter in the background, the starry eyes, holding of the hands. Does he love me? I love him. Does she love me? I love her. Getting lost in each other's eyes and faces, and and being attended to by pretty ladies and pretty boys, and it's all that. It's all that. It's kind of interesting that they bring in, of course, you have the trope of the evil stepmother who's there just for the money, basically, and she already disapproves of this match because she sees problems, because she doesn't see how she's going to rise in stature as a result of this marriage, even though it will financially make Melfina's family solvent. It's not going to give the stepmother the social ranking she thinks she deserves. So so there's already that coming up. So there are things that are going to be talked about. But one of the two things I thought that was kind of interesting, that was kind of like they mention it and then they sideline it, and I think that's going to come up in later episodes. One of them, of course, being that the people of the Count's Lands are into animism, and they really are not pleased with her making monster meat, as it's an affront to their beliefs. And they don't really say much more than that, other than the Duke, who actually says the right thing, which is, well, they're ungrateful. Look, you marry me, I'll make you a lab. This is a good idea. We should be doing this. So yeah, this is a thing. So he's being very supportive of that. But I'm kind of wanting to see more of that storyline, I guess. And the other part is something that the Duke himself mentions, and then it just again quietly goes away, which is, wow, so you use the leftover blood that you've taken out, the tainted blood from the monster meat, so you can make it edible through an alchemic / magical process. And he goes, wow, so you can make fire out of this, and it's just a couple of drops looking, you make this huge flames. And she's like, yeah, like one of these flasks will last like 10 months. And he goes, or it could be a really good weapon. Moving right along, how much, what do you think this is going to taste like? You know, so you're just like, wait, whoa. What are you talking about, weapon, right? And then, so we move on. So obviously there are going to be some other points coming on inside the anime in future episodes. So, should you watch this? Is this something worth watching? Yeah, why not? I will be frank. For me personally, this is not something that I'm going to rush to watch. I'm not really going to put it on my watch list, but I do feel that if there's something that I don't happen to want to watch, if I watch something particularly dark and I need something happy, relatively happy, I'll probably watch a couple episodes of this. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my wheelhouse. Fairy tales are not, or reconstructive fairy tales are not really my thing, per se, but I thought this was kind of interesting and charming and slightly demented. I like odd things. Enough demented things going on there that kind of piqued my interest a little bit. But I'm not going to go out of my way to make time for this. If I happen to come across it and I just said, oh yeah, okay, yeah, well, let's watch a couple episodes, that's probably what will happen. Now, should you watch this? Well, if you like romantic comedies, absolutely watch this. It does, there is the relationship between the Duke and his manservant, his dog's body, who is of course the smart, good-looking friend who is always has the protagonist's best interests at heart and is always supportive. You have those things going on, so there's that little bit of comedy going on there. The Duke's older brother is actually the prince of the realm, and they have a funny little relationship going on there, and so funny things like that. She's funny. She's not a ditz, which is nice. She's not stupid. She's not a bimbo or anything like that. She's just just going, oh, maybe this might be the wrong thing to do, and she's just trying to navigate stuff. And so some hilarity ensues on that, and some of the physical comedy is actually quite funny. So yeah, this is nice and funny. The animation itself is fine. It is on par with what the technology is today, not overly CGI'd. It's fine. There's nothing special about it, but it's fine. And but yeah, I think that if that is up your alley, then you should definitely watch it. And if you're just wanting something different, maybe, and you just want something light and different, definitely give this a go. Again, I don't see this being as groundbreaking, or I don't know that this is going to be like one of the most popular things ever, like Delicious in Dungeon, but I think it's definitely going to find its audience, and it's an audience, might be you, and if it is, I think you're going to enjoy it. So there you go. Yeah, give it a go. See what you think. So that was the review for Pass the Monster Meat Milady, a charming yet slightly demented anime for you to watch. It is a treat. It is charming. Please give it a go. I think you'll enjoy it. Just don't take it too seriously. So yeah, next week we're going to do the last anime review for the theme of this season, which is anime that appeared on Adult Swim and Toonami. We're going to do the last one. It's going to be Black Lagoon. That's the review we're going to do. And at some point, I'll figure out when we're going to do the CyTube watching of anime that had been on Toonami and or Adult Swim. And, we'll do that on hopefully a Saturday night. And I will give you the date and time for that so you can show up on CyTube, which is free, and watch it with us. And if you have an account with CyTube, you'll be able to engage in the chat should you choose to do so. So we'll let you know about that information coming up. And that's going to be it for this week. So you guys got to take care of yourselves, be healthy, do the right thing, because I want to see you out in the world, out in the wild, possibly at cons as well. And, maybe have a little conversation about anime. Wouldn't that be nice and wonderful? I would love that. But you got to take care of yourself to do that. All right. So that's it. And as always, watch more anime.